All right, folks, we talked about some players who could be traded. Let's move now to our next segment, NFL coaching hires. Look, we're going to rank these from 6 to 1, taking a look at the coaches who have been hired. Now, not all of these have been officially announced by the team, but they're all going to happen. Yeah. So, Mitchell, we start here with number 6. This is your lowest ranked one, Steve Wilks. He is now the Cardinals head coach coming over from the Carolina Panthers. What do you make of this hire?
So when I first looked at this one, I thought it was a little bit of a head scratcher, but then I started digging into it a little bit more, Tom. So Steve Wilks this past year, the Carolina Panthers, they blitzed on 44% of the plays, which was the highest in the NFL. And since he joined the Carolina Panthers, they had 96 interceptions. The Cardinals have had 108, the most in the NFL. So I think Wilks is going to bring more defensive mindedness to a team who I think needs to ultimately. They have a talented defense, but needs to bring that defensive toughness because offensively, they're not going to be very good with their quarterback situation right now. Play solid defense, lean on David Johnson. That's going to be the recipe for the win.
Wilks had a lot of interviews this offseason. Almost every team that needed a head coach interviewed Wilks because, well, you know what, in the end, you have to fulfill the Rooney Rule, and in the end here, Wilks ended up getting that hire here. And I think that was – I don't know how much I love this one, and because I don't know enough about Steve Wilks, he kind of emerged a little bit later. He's only had 1 year as a DC. Does that concern you at all?
Yes. When you see only 1 year of DC work, considering the other candidates that were out there and kind of how the Cardinals just sat back and waited, I don't know if it was like their best. I don't know if it was the best move.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our next coach here. We'll let the folks vote here first. We'll skip through that. My bad. Grade the Cardinals hire of Steve Wilks. I'm curious to see how these votes flow in. Mitchell, give us a reaction here. A heart for an A, a like for a B, a wow for a C, or a laughing for a C, and a wow for a D. Which one would you give it for the grading of Steve Wilks? I already saw one like flow in here.
So I'm going to give it a C. I'm going to give it a laughing face because, again, C to me is average. When I think of average, I think of C. And to me, this is an average hire considering all the other coaches that were out there this offseason. For you to get Steve Wilks, not that he's a bad coach, but again, he doesn't have the pedigree of a lot of these other names that are on this list. So I'm going to give it a C. I think it was an average hire.
See a bit of angry faces coming in, which I think might be about our pinned comment right now. But I think that one makes some pretty good sense. So I do see some hearts flowing in as well. So I give it a B. I actually don't think there were many bad hires this offseason. I thought teams did a good job of that this year. Let's get now to number 5, and this is the most recent non-official hire, if that makes sense. The ones that have been officially announced, but one of the more recent ones. In Mike Vrabel, what do you make of this one?
So the Mike Vrabel one, to me, I thought the Titans were going to go with a. When they fired Mike Mularkey, I thought, okay, Josh McDaniels is coming to Tennessee, and that wasn't the case. Vrabel has some defensive coaching experience at Ohio State, and then he's been in the NFL now for the last 3 years for the Texans. So this is another hire that I was a little bit of a head scratcher, but this is Mike Vrabel, I think, brings a toughness that this Titans team wants to have. And if he runs the ball with Derrick Henry, it'll be a great hire.
Vrabel is such a fascinating hire for me because I know that he is well regarded in NFL circles. Like, teams love him, that they think he's a great leader. But my concern is, when it comes to Vrabel, the Texans' defense was not good last year. And I know that they were banged up.
I was just going to say.
But, like, do you really want to hire a guy who had one of the worst statistical defenses in the NFL?
But, you're missing Merciless, Whitney Merciless, J.J. Watt. You're missing, your two cornerstones. They just, traded away A.J. Boye to the Jags. So
lost him in free agency, actually.
Yeah, my bad. So, when you lose key players like that to a defense, that's going to hurt you. Vrabel, though, I think is being more looked at from his time in the NFL as a player. Like you said, the leader, the veteran presence there. So, but hey, good for Vrabel. I didn't think he'd be a head coach, not this soon.
Let's get to some reaction polls in here for this one. Grade the Titans hire of Mike Vrabel. Same reaction poll. Heart for an A, like for a B, a laughing face for a C, and a wow for a D. Which one are you going with, Mitchell? And I guess if you think it's an F, you can give us an angry face.
No, I'm definitely not going to give it an F. For me, again, this one is going to be a C. It's a laughing face. I think it's an average hire. I think the ceiling for a guy like Vrabel could be very high. The leadership, if he brings that in and establishes that in a young team like the Titans, it could be very good. However, like you said, the defense for the Houston Texans was not all that great this past season, and he's just not an offensive-minded guy, and I think this team needs offensive firepower. They were super dull, and Marcus Mariota, there was, I think, other options, again, where Vrabel could have gone.
I see almost exclusively C and Ds flowing in for that reaction poll. I think Vrabel is one of the bigger boom or bust hires in this coaching crop. Either he has great success with a good team right now, or it ends up being that he was not ready for a head coaching job.
Yep.
Let's keep it rolling then to number 4 on our coaching hires. Pat Shurmur getting another shot as a head coach after not doing well with the Browns, but it was the Browns and no one does well.
Yeah, it was the Browns, that's for sure. And I mean, when you see the work that he's done this season with the Minnesota Vikings, sure, this past week was a rough game, but I mean, when you lose Teddy Bridgewater, your franchise quarterback, and then you lose Sam Bradford, and in comes Case Keenum, a guy who everybody discounted, and you resonate or get his career going again. Case Keenum was great this year. I mean, I was surprised he didn't make the Pro Bowl. I mean, they played really that well. Pat Shurmur, I'm going to tip my hat to you. I think it was a pretty solid hire for this Giants team, and ultimately, I wish Shurmur the best.
All right, same reaction poll then, folks. Heart for an A, like for a B, a laughing face for a C, and a wow face for a D. You giving this one a B, or are you still sticking with your C average grade that you've given out so far?
No, I like this one. This one's a B for me. I'm throwing the thumbs up there for the Giants. I thought they got the good hire in Pat Shurmur. He's been able to show, at least this past year, that he can work with multiple quarterbacks. And yes, if he can maybe get Eli Manning's career back to what we were hoping it was going to be coming into the season. I mean, if they get back guys like Odell Beckham, that's obviously going to really help. But if they draft a guy like Josh Rosen in the draft, maybe really form him. And Pat Shurmur, I think, is a good guy to do that.
I think you're right that the Giants hired Sherman to help develop their future quarterback. I think they'll spend an early pick on one because I don't think it's Davis Webb. I think Sam Darnold would be a good fit in New York. I'm giving this one a B as well. I like the hire for Shurmur. I just don't think it's a home run hire necessarily. I think there are only really one or two of those this offseason.
Yep.
Let's get then to number 3. We'll go to Detroit. We get our first Patriots coordinator, Matt Patricia. This is one that's not official because Patriots are still playing, but it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. I mean, this guy, I think that, first off, the Patricia story alone, I don't know if you know a lot about it, Tom, but I mean, here was a guy who was literally a former rocket scientist, told his parents, hey, I want to coach, like, football, and he ended up taking away his, like, amazing job and just wanted to coach high school football and then started coaching and then worked his way up, got with the Patriots in 2004, has been there, multiple jobs. I think this guy is super intelligent. The beard there is a little bit shorter than what it is right now, but I mean,
it's an older photo from the team's website.
But I mean, I think he's a super smart guy. When you have that many years learning underneath Bill Belichick, I think it's a slam dunk hire.
I like Patricia for a couple different reasons. One, we do know he is very intelligent because, you know, they don't let anyone become a rocket scientist. And oh, by the way,
hopefully,
you're going to hear that every time the Lions are on national TV. Just so we're going to mention it now, and then we're going to mention it far fewer because that's going to be said a lot going forward. But the thing I like about Patricia, experience on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
And I think that's a little bit underrated. Having that diversity in your background allows you to think be a little bit better of a head coach. And yeah, the defensive guy's going to know about offense and vice versa. But to have coached both sides of the ball, I think is a big deal there.
And not only that, like, both sides of the ball, multiple years in the NFL, and just like the amount of different coordinators roles that he's been in, it's not just both sides of the ball, it's just multiple coordinators. So I think he knows the game well. Again, learning underneath Bill Belichick, playing with guys like Tom Brady, and just coaches that are very, very highly respected. This is why I'm giving this one, Tom, an A. I think it's a great grade for the Lions, and I'm happy for the Lions. Just I hope it works out because Matthew Stafford, again, is not a guy I'm crazy about.
Let's get to another Patriots coordinator here, Josh McDaniels going to the Colts. There are two ways to look at this hire. One, they hired the guy that was awful with Denver. B, they hired a longtime Patriots OC who's done wonders with that regard.
Again, wonders with the team. And when you hear guys like Tom Brady speak as highly as they do about Josh McDaniels, that gives me confidence. To me, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, they don't beat around the bush. They tell you how it is, and they have a lot of respect for Josh McDaniels and just the offense that he brings. If Andrew Luck is healthy and McDaniels can work with Andrew Luck, this is a great hire. Mm-hmm. However, the Colts have a lot of question marks besides Andrew Luck. They really do. I mean, they have offense, defense, loaded with question marks. But if Andrew Luck is healthy, Tom, I think this is going to be a pretty good hire.
And I think that's why McDaniels ended up picking the Colts over a job like maybe the Titans because he wanted to have Andrew Luck as a quarterback, and now he thinks he gets a incredibly athletically and physically gifted quarterback. And McDaniels like, I learned all this stuff working with Brady. I'm gonna make him incredible. That's what McDaniels thinks right now.
And I mean, Andrew Luck, I am a huge Andrew Luck fan, and unfortunately, that offensive line that the Colts have had is the reason why he's not healthy, where he wasn't healthy this entire season. But Josh McDaniels working with a guy like Belichick, working with a guy like Brady. I mean, if he just can mold Andrew Luck into what Brady is mentally, I mean, Andrew Luck is way more athletic than Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Tom Brady, but I love the fact that Josh McDaniels is with the Colts. I'm giving this one an A, Tom.
I will take it one step further. I thought this was the best hire of the NFL offseason.
Okay.
I'm giving that my vote to Josh McDaniels over the next guy here on our list in Jon Gruden. He is now the Raiders head coach. I think this is a very popular hire because Gruden's been the white whale for years now in NFL and even college coaching circles. Everyone wants Jon Gruden. The Raiders got him with a massive contract that was, frankly, a little on the ridiculous side of things.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, 10 years, like $100 million or
yeah,
something?
that's exactly what it was.
And I mean, that's probably the reason why they landed Moby Dick. But, like,
I see Jon Gruden saying $100 million. Like, this is what I want to coach. And Davis goes, done, let's do it.
Yeah,
he goes,
right?
okay, cool.
I just love Jon Gruden's personality, and I think Jon Gruden, like quarterback camp, when you watch it, I think he's very, very intelligent with quarterbacks and then just the defensive side of the ball, which I think is the biggest needs right now for the Raiders. Yes, they have Derek Carr, but he did struggle this past year, especially with pressure. I mean, we saw him get he was protected very well last season, or I guess in 2016, but in 2017 he had a little bit more pressure to him. And then when you see ultimately like Derek Carr struggling a little bit, I think Jon Gruden can definitely help him out. But the hire in general, Tom, when you look at these grades, I think there's a reason why he's number one on our list. For me, he's number one. It's an A-plus hire because Jon Gruden right now, he can coach defense. He's going to help build that. He's going to be just like a new face, ultimately a new face to the team. So when you get a guy like Khalil Mack, and he's just the face of that defense, and then now you're just building it on with certain players, and like Michael Crabtree, what are they going to do with him? And again, Derek Carr, let's form the offense. I mean, what do you think about that?
I have some concerns about Jon Gruden, and I love Gruden, but my biggest concern is, hey, he's been out of the league for a long time.
He has.
And I know he's kept up to date here, but is he gonna remain great? I just have some concerns there.
He has the passion. He has the passion, and that's what I love. So.
All right, so we'll run you through this here one more time. We'll rank those hires at number 6. We had Steve Wilks of the Cardinals. He was just recently hired here. Mike Vrabel checks in at number 5, going to the Tennessee Titans from the Houston Texans. At number 4 is Pat Shurmur of the New York Football Giants. At number 3 is Matt Patricia. And then at number 2 is Josh McDaniels, both Patriots coordinators. And then at number 1 is Jon Gruden.